Good morning and welcome to The Art of Composition. Thanks for joining me today. Today I want to talk about one of Thomas Keglar's free PDFs. And you can find this on his website, thomaskeglar.com. I do have links to his free PDFs in my user's guide as well. But I want to talk about this 4-page document because it really enticed me to change my ways on how to present some of this information. And these PDFs talk about the rule of thirds and the harmonic armature. This is what I teach now, and this is a great start for those that want to get their feet wet and going beyond the rule of thirds. So what Thomas Keglar is talking about in these guides, he talks about the rule of thirds, but he also talks about that composing is not subjective. It's not about what you feel or how you feel things should be arranged. It's a way to organize your painting, the elements in your painting, in a way that makes visual sense depending on the size of the canvas that you choose for your painting. So he starts talking about the rule of thirds. He states that perhaps the most basic compositional arrangement is the rule of thirds. Massing of colors and values can simplify complicated themes and motifs. This approach simply encourages placement of focal points on points of intersection. Now, the rule of thirds is a legitimate concept, and it's derived from the harmonic armature, and he states that right here. It says it's a derivative of the harmonic armature on the next page. So let me go to the next page here. This is how to create a harmonic armature, and he talks about 1/2, 1/3, 1/4 divisions, and so on. He calls it a generic armature. It's called the musical armature, and so on. But one thing to keep in mind when you're talking about the harmonic armature is that there's a relationship between audible harmonics and visual harmonics, and that's what he's talking about here. And this is really important to understand because what sounds good to our ears also appeals to us visually, and this is why design is not intuitive. If we were to randomly place notes on a page, it wouldn't make music, or good music for that matter. So it's something to take seriously when you're talking about art. You have to have a good composition and an arrangement of your elements so that it's visually pleasing to our eyes, the same way good music appeals to our ears. All right, so he's showing you some divisions of the generic harmonic armature, and it's important to keep in mind too that you're always drawing the same 14 lines regardless of the size of the canvas. Unlike dynamic symmetry, where you're dealing with specific sized rectangles that you're designing within, and he talks about this. He says there are several visual armatures that artists use: root rectangles, the golden mean, and the harmonic armature. I haven't seen any examples of him using dynamic symmetry, but what I'll do moving forward, I'll try to analyze some of his paintings that might be using a dynamic symmetry grid, but I'm very hesitant on doing that without some type of baseline of validity. But he does talk about it, so I assume he uses it in some things. But he does state that he uses a harmonic armature far more than any other system of design. On page 3, he shows different divisions of the harmonic armature. You have 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, 2/3, and 3/4. And he's showing all of these there. And I believe I have this in my user's guide as well. And then the last page is a few samples of him using the armature in his paintings. And I have a pretty good amount of his paintings on my website analyzed using the harmonic armature. So it'll give you a good idea. It'll give you a baseline, and I keep referring to that word baseline because you need a baseline when it comes to this information. You need a starting point where you have some valid information. It can't be all speculation. So it's really important. But I will take a look at his other PDF in the near future. And like I said, I'll look at some of his work to see if I can find some actual dynamic symmetry examples. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, as always.